The TOS TV network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sport and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV news from Africa by Africans.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show, complement of the season. Today we bring you a special episode by Amnesty International. We speak to them about their recently released report that damned the Nigerian army. On today's program we talk about the farmers-herders clash. Don't go anywhere, it promises to be a very interesting one. Welcome back to the Osasu Show. Joining me now is Mrs. Osai Ojigho, who is the Country Director of Amnesty International. Thank you so much for joining us in today's program.
Thank you for having me.
Amnesty International recently released a highly controversial report titled Nigeria, the Harvest of Death, 3 years of bloody clashes between farmers and herders in Nigeria. This report has caused a lot of uproar, especially amongst the Nigerian army. They've accused Amnesty International of sabotage, of telling lies against the Nigerian army, and trying to cause unrest in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, they claim that the 2019 general elections are just around the corner, and this has influenced the publication of your report because you're trying to influence the outcome of the election. Is there any truth to this?
This is totally false, and it's quite unfortunate that the Nigerian army continues to attack Amnesty International and continues this smear campaign in order to distract us from the work that we're doing. The herders and farmers research, which is captured in this latest report, is work that has been going on since the last few years. Actually, the area covered is from January 2016 to October 2018, and we began this study effectively last year, when we began to gather all the evidence, gather the information regarding what has been going on. It's nothing new, it's been in the media, a lot of issues have been raised, but what had been lacking is actually the human rights perspective of what the cost of this particular conflict. And when you produce your report, you are looking at how to make sure that the stories of the people are heard, that people who have been most affected have an opportunity of presenting the facts as it is. And it's a call on the authorities in order to do something to end this harvest of death.
But Amnesty International has been operating in Nigeria for several years, I believe since 2002?
The office was opened in 2015.
In 2015.
But Amnesty has been working on Nigeria since 1967.
1967. Okay, thanks for clarifying that, because the herders-farmers clash has been ongoing for many years before the Buhari administration. So a lot of Nigerians would want to know, why does this cover only 3 years, since 2016 till date?
Because every organization also has its resources. And when you go about on a research mission, you also have to define the timeline during which you can capture the evidence that is on ground. Many people have also asked us, why didn't you go as far back as 10 years ago, 5 years ago? But when you have to make a decision in terms of what you can deal with at that point in time, it's important that you can define the time frame during which you can carry out the research.
But do you understand why people think it's political? Because you're focusing just on the Muhammadu Buhari administration, whereas in his predecessor's administration, this farmers-herders clash was also occurring.
What people don't realize is that we notice the pattern. And that was why we wanted to find out if this is justified based on the pattern we had been seeing in terms of the reports and the complaints we have. So it's not in any way targeting any particular government or any institution, but just to go on the field to find out what really happened. And what we found was shocking, that between 2016 and 2017, there's been a lot of attacks, at least the ones that we have independently verified. In 2016, you had over 800. 2017, over 700. Then in 2018, just between January and October, you had over 2,000 deaths. So we're asking ourselves the question, why is this happening? It's because since for a long time, you can even go back as far as 1999, when these clashes have been happening, nothing has been done to address the impunity. People are getting away with doing these actions, and justice is not being served. And the reality is that when we initially wanted to release this report, the plan was to have something ready by June. Because, you know, we woke up January 1st, 2018 with the horrific killings happening in Benue State. But each time we are like, okay, it's time for us to close up on this research, finalize our findings, begin to write up the report, more attacks continued. In the period alone, 310 attacks. You ask yourself, this is a country not in war. This is a country, and the regions that are most affected are regions that do not have anything to do with the insurgency, for example. There are regions which produce, which you could call the food basket of the nation. Why are we having these issues? Why are these challenges happening?
And what did your report find out? Because that's 3,641 persons killed in the span of just 3 years. And 57% of that happened within the last year.
Exactly.
Why? What does your report, what did you find out?
And we must emphasize that the numbers we give is the minimum, is at least, because we got so many other claims that we're not able to verify within the time frame that we are working on. What we discovered is that there's a lot of lack in these communities. It's first and foremost a socioeconomic crisis. Many people feel that they have limited economic opportunities and their livelihoods are being threatened. If you notice, many of the places where these attacks occurred are in villages. So where people are still living on the land. And so it's all that they have, and it's all that they can lay claims to. So when there are limited resources already, people begin to fight for access and to begin to assert some sort of ownership over these resources, whether it's water, whether it's land, whether it's an opportunity to make a living.
But some would argue that there has always been poverty in the land. So therefore, why are the issues between the farmers and the herders who have lived together, who have cohabitated peacefully for so many years, why is it that nowadays they're at each other's throats and the issues are escalating, leading to so much violence? And as a matter of fact, the statistics of the people who have been killed just from the farmers' herders is more than the Boko Haram insurgency.
When a wrong has been committed and nobody has been made to pay for it, has been held accountable for it, then people begin to think that they can get away with it. In fact, one of the trends we are seeing emerging from this crisis is that criminals are taking advantage of the conflict to perpetrate criminality. And so we're at a point now where they are almost losing control of that area. So the call really is to see what can be done by the authorities to ensure that this violence does not spiral out of control. And the only way they can do that is to show to the communities that they can take charge, that they would arrest the perpetrators, and they would ensure that they are taken to court and brought to justice. Impunity is the greatest fight now that the government needs to overcome in order to bring peace to the land.
Speaking of impunity, what do you reckon is the main reason why these perpetrators have not been brought to books? Because we look at your report, which states that most of the weapons these herders are using are coming from the United Kingdom, it's coming from China, it's coming from Russia. So in order for them to get these arms, it has to be a sophisticated syndicate for them to be able to access such weaponry. So why do you think the Nigerian army, the Nigerian government have not been able to bring these perpetrators to books and stop the flow of illegal weapons to these people?
Nigeria has one of the porous borders in the region as well. We cover a large mass area, and unfortunately, this issue of border control is something that we've not been able to manage effectively. But most importantly, we don't have a legal framework which addresses this issue of small arms and their proliferation in Nigeria. We also have not succeeded in able to find the criminal sponsors of this illicit trade in Nigeria. We know that there have been times, even at the seaport, where they've intercepted weapons. What happens to them? Are they able to trace who the owners are? Did they disappear into thin air? And what about the many other consignments that have gone through our ports that we're not aware of? So, in order to stop the killing, yes, you have to deal with the issue of impunity. Secondly, you have to look at where the sources of these weapons are coming to. And when you find people with weapons who do not have a right to hold them or do not have clearance or license to hold them, what do you do? How do you ensure that you can seize those weapons and also prosecute them for illegally possessing arms? And like we noted in our report, it will be very important if the security agents themselves see how they can improve their tactics, their strategies, so that they can better respond to these issues as it comes up. I think a lot of I think they're a bit overwhelmed at the moment, and so it means they need to re-strategize in order to be more effective in delivering security and safety.
But do you think the willpower is there by the Nigerian security agencies? Do you think they have the willpower, they actually want to solve this crime?
I think the willpower lies with the authorities themselves. That is the federal government and the state government. How are they working together to ensure that they support the work that they've deployed the security agents to do? And how many of them have been deployed to these areas to tackle this issue? Because one of the complaints we had is when the communities reach out to security agents, they fail to turn up on time. So obviously there's a gap somewhere.
And some of them even ask for money, because in your report we had an instance from someone in Benue State who said that they had paid the security agency some money, and even at that, they still did not turn up to protect their community.
Yes, in the first place, it was wrong for them to demand money. And then in the second place, not to turn up when it happened. Because then, why give someone false sense of hope? They could have run off, they could have gone to seek shelter somewhere else. And so this is the confusing signals that we get. And like we hinted, it was an allegation of some soldiers. We didn't say the entire force is doing this. And that's why it's important that we want the Nigerian army and all the other security agents to actually launch an independent search amongst their own forces themselves. Check those areas that we mentioned, those places where we said the hotspots are.
Most definitely. Speaking of human rights, in your report you referred a lot to Fulani headsmen. Your terminology in terms of Fulani headsmen, aren't you abusing the human rights of the Fulani as a tribal group in terms of tagging these perpetrators of crimes as Fulani headsmen? Doesn't that put a negative tag on the Fulanis in Nigeria?
If you look at the way we reported it, when we use our own statements, our own words, we say suspected Fulani headsmen. When we quote the people involved directly in terms of what did you see, who do you think attacked you, we quote them exactly as they say it. It's unfortunate that at this point in time, those are the people that have been identified mostly by the farming community as attacking them. For us, because we believe that there will be so many other factors involved, and also, like you said, not to label a particular group, whether it's herders or farmers, with negative connotation, is to report as clearly as possible what we found, and where we use our own words to qualify it, because really this is the perspective of the high witness.
Wouldn't it have been satisfactory to just say headsmen rather than put that tribal prefix to...
Then you wouldn't be reporting exactly what has been said.
Interesting.
Yes. Because we are not there to modify or change what their own experiences and perspectives are. And even in the report, we refer to certain tribal names as well. Because even when we speak with the Fulani constituent, when we speak with the Fulani communities and the herder communities, they will also refer to tribes, particularly in the Middle Belt, that have also attacked them or are suspected to have also taken their animals. And that also goes to tell us that really The fight is not about ethnicity or religion. The fight is about resources. On either side, everyone wants to be able to go about their business safely and securely. And they feel a sense of injustice when that has not been addressed.
But is it possible that religion and tribe is being used to fuel the crisis on ground?
In many cases, you find that it's been hijacked by people who have other interests. And that's why it's important for us to put the facts bare on ground. People are hungry, people are dying. It has nothing to do with who you are or your identity. What is being attacked is your person. And it doesn't matter whether you're dark, fair, whether you believe in Christianity or Islam or wherever you come from. People are dying and people are suffering, and that needs to be the key issue that we're addressing. Sometimes when these distinctions are brought in, it's in a way to try to tilt or push propaganda in order to cause further mayhem, so that those whose interests are being served can then go ahead to continue to perpetuate this notion of difference.
I see. The special advisor to the President, Muhammadu Buhari, on social media, Loretta Onyeche, had made a claim that since the political campaign started, that we saw a reduction in the herders-farmers clash. Meaning, and she also said that the PDP, some of the key leaders in the PDP were found wanting in regards to perpetrating these crimes, like that the ones there are sponsoring these crimes against the Nigerian people. Do you have any response to that?
I think they should identify who the perpetrators are and take them to court. I think they need to prosecute. If they know that they have suspected people involved in this and they have the evidence, admissible evidence, they should go to court. They should actually prosecute them. That will show people that really they're doing something to fight this crisis. At the moment, people are not seeing that, and it would only appear as words on paper, which does not actually relieve people's suffering and their demands for justice.
From your report, did you find any political undertone in regards to this farmers-herders clash?
For Amnesty, we always act based on the facts that we get on ground. We're very sensitive to the fact that people might have their own inclinations. And as an organization that does not, is not affiliated to any political ideology, and so our questions are always, what did you see? Where were you? What experiences did you have? What do you want? What is your call to the authorities? That way we keep our research independent and we keep it impartial.
Very lastly, your report from Benue State, Adamawa State, revealed that certain members of the Nigerian army actually ran away from certain areas of conflict. In a situation here, they actually burnt the houses of some of the community members. They perpetrated a plethora of human rights crimes against the Nigerian people. What evidence was given to you? Because it's one thing to interview people and they say this was what happened, and you can interview someone else and they give a different account. What evidence, what methodology did you use in finding out this allegations against the Nigerian army? Whenever
we get allegations of any human rights violation, not just in this case, we ensure that we triangulate that information. We get a minimum of 3 sources, but oftentimes we go even higher, a minimum of 5 sources. And the idea is to ensure that we can say this is based on the information given, this is what could have happened. And so it's a combination of factors. High witnesses accounts, of course, are always very strong, but we cannot rely on just one. And when we try to recreate what has happened, especially when they are recounting their experiences, we also want them to position themselves where they were. In the villages where we visited, we would ask them to show us where they were when it happened. If they are away from there, we also ask them to draw sketches, and then we use a combination of that and further interviews in order to establish the facts as it happened. So it takes quite a lot of time, and it's a painstaking process, and that's why sometimes it's not possible for us to cover everything and everywhere. And where we're not able to get enough corroboration, then we're not able to use those facts in our report. And that's why we always place the emphasis that the numbers and the figures and the data we share is the least that we are able to independently verify as Amnesty International.
I see. Mrs. Osai, Ojigho, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll bring you highlights from the Osasu Show Foundation, especially a book launch that just occurred a few weeks ago, where a young gentleman did a compilation of poems dedicated to yours truly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
The TOS TV network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sport and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
What we want to do now is just move quickly into the book, because I know a lot of us want to run. So what we'll just do quickly is I will just hear a little about the reason why we're here. Paint this fate with brushes, but do not hide my scars from the world. I cannot return from my battle without a trophy. Paint this blistered cheek with blushes and a smile, but do not damn my tears like those who damned my cares, or fear that their boots may spoil my polish. Paint my face with glamour, but let the world see that I dazzle from inside. Paint my hair pink or gold or any shade of black, but do not hide the wisdom that lies under my skull.
The day I saw Osasu, now that day I know say beautiful woman exists. She's the kind you can't help but remember once you've seen. Original virtuous lady. She's as beautiful as an African goddess. She know they chop the bougon of idleness. Her parents call her blessing. Her neighbors call her motto who meet their desire. Paint her with words that will never be erased for years and for life eternal.
My question is, you don't have to do this. With the level of your comforts, what is that thing in you that makes you think that that gives you the drive to present, to be the bridge between the high in the society and the vulnerable in the society?
I was driven to do this. So I operate with the knowledge that my life has a purpose, and that purpose was created by God. I wouldn't want to say I'm very religious, but I'm very spiritual. I am very in tune with my relationship with God, thanks to my parents who brought me up that way. And I believe my purpose is helping out and reaching the vulnerable. I don't know how else to put it, but I would literally cringe watching a child that's suffering. I believe my blessings come from giving 10% of my hard-earned money to the vulnerable in society. This is what I know God has created me to do, and He has put a burning desire in my heart that I can't function, I can't sleep at night until I know I fulfill what my purpose is. And God has created this platform, the Osasu Show, to ensure I'm living out that purpose.
I want to end by saying that life is very simple if you look at it critically. My mom always said the good things are free. If you want to be like Osasu, just be good. And being good is simple. Thank you and have a beautiful evening.
That's it for today's program. Watch extended clips on our mobile app, Android Play Store and iOS Apple Store. Don't forget to follow us on our social media at The Osasu Show, at TOS TV Network, at Osasu Igbenedian, and at The Osasu Show Foundation on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll see you same time, same place next week, and until then, take very good care of yourself. God bless you.